Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to commend the subcommittee chair, the gentleman from the state whose flower is Artemisia tridentata, and also the ranking member, because this subcommittee can be a very difficult subcommittee, as we're going to see from our debate today. And it's the kind of a subcommittee that can get away from you real fast. And you have both operated this subcommittee in a way to facilitate the civility, courtesy, and a real debate. However, having said that, this is a good demonstration that courtesy and civility alone do not produce a good bill. And many of my colleagues have pointed to deficiencies in the bill that I share with them, but I want to highlight two areas that I think are highly problematic and that I hope and believe can be fixed going forward. And those are FEMA and the cybersecurity information and security infrastructure and security agency, or CISA. We had long debates in subcommittee about what is a continuing vendetta, if I can put it that way, against FEMA. That is, to this day, unexplainable, inexplicable to me. Now, I have personal experience with this, with the incredible disaster in Lahaina that I detailed at great length in our subcommittee, where we do not believe that FEMA did a bad job. We think FEMA saved the day for us. And this is a personal experience that I think other people would have shared in places like California, North Carolina, Florida, Louisiana, et cetera. And so it is really inexplicable to me that there is a continuing effort to underfund FEMA, to somehow call out FEMA's credibility, to chalk some motivation that I don't understand up to waste, fraud, and abuse. We didn't see waste, fraud, and abuse in Lahaina. We saw the expenditure of necessary monies by our federal government that saved the day after a terrible disaster. And so it's something that I think we need to discuss. Now, if you want to talk about policy here, about a policy of decentralizing the federal government down to the state government level, then let's talk about how that actually works when a small state especially gets overwhelmed by a massive natural disaster, or any other disaster for that matter, because we're not just talking about natural. So what is the policy? If you want to say, well, the state should take care of this, then let's take Hawaii, for example. How should Hawaii have responded to a disaster of this magnitude? And is it not a good policy to maintain the federal government as the central administrator of common uniform disaster responses across our country? That's the policy decision that we're not, and debate that we're not having. And if that's where you want to go with this, then let's have that debate, and then let's have funding follow the policy. Now let me switch over to cybersecurity, because it is also inexplicable to me that you are reducing funding for cybersecurity at a time when we all know, or should know, that if we want to look at exposure from malign actors across the world, including the last few days, one of our greatest exposures is in the cybersecurity realm. This is when we need to be ramping up cybersecurity across our country, not defunding cybersecurity. And let's take a look at what you've done in this bill. You have reduced cybersecurity proper by $87 million. You have cut infrastructure security. You have cut risk management operations. And it's similarly inexplicable to me that you would somehow call out these areas of the greatest need for cuts. Now, is that a waste, fraud, and abuse argument? Because I don't see it at all. Let's just talk about infrastructure, just to pick out one of the areas that you have reduced funding in. Anybody that knows what malign actors are up to in the cybersecurity space now knows that they are not necessarily and exclusively focused on national security, cybersecurity. No, what they're after is civilian infrastructure. They're after electric grids. They're after water systems. They're after things that can disrupt the civilian infrastructure. They want control. They want to be able to control that. They want to be able to trigger cybersecurity at the proper time. And this is an area that state governments, county governments, and companies need incredible amounts of highly sophisticated advice and resources to prepare for and to identify and to fight. And yet you have reduced infrastructure cybersecurity. It's inexplicable to me. And so I would really urge that in these two areas in particular, you take a look at the judgments that you're making on a policy basis and then follow that with funding as you go through the process. I yield back.